Now, here's more of the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA.
Welcome back to the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show here on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA and WTMA.com. I'm, of course, your host, Brian Beatty, coming at you with a bunch of real estate news and reviews about the market. And now we're going to talk about what I think is going to happen in 2019 in Charleston. And this is one of my more popular shows. I've been doing this for 5 years, and people say they always look forward to the predictions because it's based off of fact. This is not information that you should have to worry about skewing your perception of the real estate market in such a way that is designed for me to sell you something. This is factual information based on my experience in the real estate market after having sold real estate for now 13 years, having done over 1,000 transactions in this market, and being a student of the market, having a show every weekend where I provide you with intelligent data to help you better determine what's going to happen before it happens when you buy, sell, or invest in real estate. I'm all about helping you establish reasonable expectations for this market. I'm a big proponent of separating fact and fiction. I do not use this information to try and create urgency around you doing something that is not within your best interest. So when I give you these predictions, it is not necessarily designed with some sort of scheme in mind for you to blow up my phone and say, okay, you're right, I got to do something right this second, otherwise I'm going to be priced out of the market, or I'm going to lose my butt on equity and it's going to fall 20%. This is not doom and gloom, guys. It's still a good market, but I want to highlight some things that I think you need to be aware of, and I do see people out there making mistakes that I want to help you prevent. And I'm going to tell you what I think is the number one mistake sellers are going to make and the number one mistake buyers are going to make just a little bit later on in this program. So again, if you want to reach out to me and you want to talk real estate, my number is 843-345-1273. That's 345-1273. Or go to my website, listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com. So let's start off looking at our real estate market this way. This time in 2014, interest rates were at about 4%. And the median sales price in Charleston's Tri-County area was $215,000. So if interest rates go up to 6% by the end of the year, which is very possible, end of 2019, and prices go up around 3% across the board, which is about what I think is going to happen, that means that you're going to be paying an extra $50 per month for every $100,000 your mortgage is worth compared to what you'd be paying right now. The difference between 5.5% and 6% with a 3% increase in prices is going to result in an extra $50 a month for every $100,000 your mortgage is worth. But if you plan on selling your house and buying a home next year, here's how I would look at that. And let's just use 2014 as an example. And so you bought a home back in 2014. Now you're interested in selling it. And to keep the math simple, let's just use the median sales price in Charleston, Tri-County area for 2014. So your mortgage payment in 2014 was at 4% for a $215,000 home. So your payment was $1,026. If prices go up 3% next year, that's going to put our median sales price at $274,000 in Charleston. And if the interest rate goes up to 6%, which I believe it will, your new monthly payment is $1,643. So think about that for a second, because very rarely do people buy and sell a home 1 year after the other. Let's say that you've been in your home for 5 years now. It's time to make a move, which is why I'm comparing this to 2014. That's an increase of 60% on your monthly payment. Now, granted, you'll have about $50,000 in equity in your home, but it's really more like $36,000, $37,000 after you pay your commission and your closing costs, and you sell your home, and then, of course, your down payment, your closing costs when you purchase the home. But that's a big increase just over a 5-year period, which is why we're already seeing affordability become an issue and a main reason why our market is shifting. and it impacts everyone in all price ranges. You think about the first-time home buyer that is struggling to find a home because as prices go up and as interest rates go up, what they can afford becomes less and less attractive. So maybe they wait and they save up more money, or they wait for that wage increase to happen, which means that now the first-time home seller that bought several years ago that wants to now move into a more expensive home is impacted. All these different submarkets within not just our local market, but nationally, they're all interconnected. So I think we're going to see another increase in interest rates. And I'll tell you why I believe that to be true. Because obviously I'm not an economist. I don't have a crystal ball. But the increase in interest rates that they put in place haven't set the market into a tailspin. So that just tells me that it's working. And I think we're going to see a slight increase in the median sales price for the Charleston area as well. But I also think several sections of our market, especially the higher priced areas, will see a price correction downward. And what I mean by that is this, just so I'm clear, there are a ton of overpriced listings in our market right now in the higher price ranges. And I looked at our market, $750,000 to $1 million, and it's essentially flat compared to last year from a pricing standpoint. In 2016, we had about 380 properties available for sale at all times from $750,000 to $1 million. And then in 2017, we dropped from 380 to 340. And now this year, we went up to over 400. So it's a saturated market. And on top of that, when I look at the closings over the past 90 days, there were 106 of them. The average original asking price was $931,000, and the final sales price was $841,000. That's a difference of $90,000 or 11%. Last year, we were at 8.5%. So the trend to be careful of is the agent's willingness to overprice your listing just to get a signed document, or their unwillingness to tell you the truth about what your home is actually worth, however you want to look at it. But the problem is too many agents are telling sellers what they think they want to hear just to get a listing. It's saturating the market, and it's causing more days on market. It's causing people to have to reduce their price more to essentially cut the other listing out at the knees because there are too many of them, and the buyers are struggling to determine value. Or they're seeing it as an opportunity to say, hey, if you don't take my offer, I'm going to go down the street and negotiate with seller number 2 or 3 or 10, depending upon where you are and how many homes are available. So that's what I think is going to happen with interest rates. That's what I think is going to happen with prices. I don't think we need to spend any time talking about distressed sales or anything like that because there's such a small portion of our market these days. It also means, of course, that investors are going to have to continue to get creative about finding investment properties that aren't saturated already by other investors or that are owned by sellers that are willing to give an investor somewhat of a discount, but not enough of a discount for it to be worth that investor's while. Now, having said that, I mean, my team and I find home run opportunities on a somewhat regular basis because I have 16 people on my team. We make about 20,000 outbound phone calls every week to buyers and sellers. So our ability to get in front of a large number of people fuels a fairly big opportunity for our buyer and seller clients because of the shadow inventory that we have on my team, meaning, all the people that will be selling in the near future or that would potentially sell if we brought them the right buyer, they just don't feel like having their home on the market and made publicly available. We've also been a lot more, side note here, but we've also been a lot more successful this year in doing what we call double-siding the deal, matching a seller up with a buyer and vice versa. We have this massive database of people that we're communicating with on a daily, weekly basis. And so when we take a listing, of course, our first job is to expose it to as many people as possible. And we're insanely purposeful about our marketing techniques that are designed to increase exposure for our listings that revolve around having more conversations and putting more lines in the water to find buyers for our properties. I mean, it's working really well, which is why our stats look good compared to market averages. But anyways, back to what I think is going to happen here in 2019. I think from a real estate perspective, agents are going to join teams that provide them with value, structure, systems, leads, expense coverage, culture, so on and so forth. Or they're going to leave the teams that got kind of fat and happy, that were selling a good amount of real estate, but not providing a lot of value to their real estate agents. Because in this market, it was kind of easy for them to, put a sign in the yard and put it on the MLS. And then the next thing you know, they've got a contract on the property. But agents are going to need to align themselves with teams that know how to sell property in a challenging market. And they're going to need to receive coaching and training from people that know how to be successful in a shifting market. I mean, I see this as an opportunity to grow my team because I know how to sell real estate effectively when markets shift, which is a benefit not only to our clients, of course, but it's a great opportunity to find other like-minded agents that need help honing their skills and ways of finding business. So, we're hiring. I'm actively looking for real estate agents to join my team. In my recruiting calls to other agents, I will tell you that a good portion of them are ready to get out of the business because even though the market has been really, really good over the past several years, there are a bunch of agents out there that are struggling and need income. And as they continue to struggle and as this market continues to shift, they're going to say, you know what? I have to go get a job. We have 7,000 agents in our MLS, and about 4,700 of them do a transaction a year. So to be in the top 20% of agents in our market, you have to do 10 homes a year. That means 80% of our market, actually 85% of our market is doing less than a deal a month. And it's hard to make a living when you're doing less than one deal a month. Or to put it another way, to be in the top 20% of agents in our market, you have to sell $2.5 million worth of real estate. Which, when you just say 3%, so that's $75,000. But you have to pay taxes on that money. You have the expenses of running a business. You have your commissions that get split with your brokerage. So once all your gross income gets sliced and diced, it's pretty easy to see why the majority of agents are at a disadvantage when they are compared to a team that is essentially spending their entire take-home pay on an annual basis. And when we're spending that every month on marketing and exposing our listings and investing in systems to help us become more efficient and provide a better experience to our clients. And that's not me boasting. It's me just kind of telling you how it is. A single agent selling 10 homes a year cannot compete with what teams like mine do. They just don't have the financial ability or the manpower. They do not have enough hours in the day. So I think there's going to be a big shift in the landscape among real estate agents. You're going to see some of these agents that have been really hot and pretty prominent start to wonder why business isn't going so well for them. And it really is just a matter of whether they're tuned into the market or not, or if they're going to continue to try and do what they've been doing. And they're more than likely going to find that it's not as easy to sell a listing in 2019 as it was in 2018 or 2017 or 2016 for that matter. And shifting gears a little bit, I think tax reform, it's going to take some time to negatively impact housing. Conceptually, we all know that limiting state income to and property tax deductions to $10,000 and limiting mortgage interest deductions for mortgages up to $750,000 are kind of net negatives for expensive coastal properties like what we have. But until people file their taxes in 2018 or taxes for 2018 in 2019, they're not really going to feel any financial pain. So it's yet to be determined how that's going to impact our real estate market. And some will argue that, lower income taxes will offset those deduction limitations. And that might be true. Perhaps, but nobody really knows. So we'll see what happens there. But it's important to understand that tax reform, that is a headwind. It is not a tailwind for, coastal property price appreciation. The last thing that I'm going to say is that it takes a while to recognize a peak. The housing market, remember, it started booming in 1996, and then that ended around March of 2006. But it wasn't until the beginning of 2008 that people really started to accept that the housing market had already peaked. And until 2008, investors were, buying properties left and right. And then, of course, once Bear Stearns was sold for nothing to J.P. Morgan in March of 2008, and then Lehman Brothers went under September, that's when people really started to panic. And that was a full 2.5 years after the housing market had peaked. And so then if things got even worse, S&P went down. They bottomed out in March of 2009. So we're not going to see a lot of data. A lot of what I've been telling you over the past year is what I'm experiencing. The data will come, and you're going to see it come in a fairly big way for a bunch of different media outlets. You're already starting to see it. If you Google real estate market update, you're going to see words like shift and correction. Soon it is going to be public knowledge and public perception, and what you believe becomes reality. So naturally, the market is going to shift. But you're already starting to see some cracks in the foundation, and we were entering our 8th year of a bull market. But you're starting to see some things shift. So just be cautious. And when we come back, I'm going to tell you the number one mistake you're going to make in real estate if you're going to buy or sell a home. Something that you really need to know. So stick around. This is the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show. And again, if you want to reach out to me, my number is 843-345-1273. Or go to my website, listingsincharleston.com, if you want to talk about real estate and your plans for next year. Again, 345-1273 or listingsincharleston.com. And stick around. This is the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA.
Visit Brian Beatty's website at listingsincharleston.com. The Brian Beatty Real Estate Show continues next on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA.